it's so easy to overeat junk food, and more importantly, 7 ways to stop it. All right, so what's everyone's favorite junk food? Let's start with that. What's your vice right now? I know for me, I love pork rinds. I can't stop eating them. Like, if they're around me, I'm gonna eat them. So I don't have them in my house, you know. So if you can't resist the chips, cookies, and ice cream, it's normal to feel that way, feel out of control. Processed foods are designed to make us overeat. And here's how it works, and more importantly, how you're gonna overcome it, right? So the marketing tricks to make processed foods seem good for you. A lot of times, these things are bright colored with cartoon characters, celebrities, and form positive association. They use phrases like "take a break," "you're worth it," tap into your need for self-care, and they also use buzzwords like organic, vegan, gluten-free to create the illusion of health, right? But in reality, if you were to do a side-by-side comparison, there's very little nutritional differences between an organic treat and a conventional. So next time you go shop and literally look at this, right? Take a Reese's that is a regular Reese's and take a healthy version of a Reese's, and you're gonna find very similar things like this, right? And so big portions convince us that we're getting a good deal. So with processed foods, you're also getting a lot of volume, a lot more calories, because who doesn't want more for less? Like if you look at the illustration here, you got your burger and fries in a shake versus a salad with chicken and water. A lot of times, those, especially if you go out to eat nowadays, it's hard to choose the healthier option because it costs more, right? And you're not really getting that much more, right? So variety makes us want more. So when we have lots of different tastes to choose from, we have lots of appetite. And when it comes down to processed foods, the options can seem endless, right? So it's harder to eat one single food like apples compared to, we got the Super Bowl coming up here soon, right? A variety of flavors and textures to amuse you forever, right? So you have these chips, you have Cheeto Pops, you have Funyuns, it looks like, things like that. You can just munch on that all day, but if you were to take the same amount of calories in terms of apples as you were that, bag of chips and everything, right? Those multiple flavors at once, equals a party in your mouth, right? So it's a lot easier for you to continue doing that because your body is used to having a bunch of stuff all at once, right? So long ago, humans prioritized calorie-dense foods to help them survive. Today, manufacturers use these calorie-dense to create a hyper-palatable, an easy, accessible junk food. So the anatomy of an irresistible bite, right? Stimuli stacking, right? So you got your sugar, fat, and salt. They aren't that appealing on their own, but when you combine them in the form of a treat, like a salted caramel brownie below, they seem very irresistible. So the big five from this, right, is they want to make this to the mass market processed foods that are calorie dense, usually high in sugar or fat, intensely flavored. So you're getting all this extra processed and like pumped full of things to make stuff taste better, essentially, right? So it's immediately delicious. So they want you to have that love at first bite. So if you don't like it at first, the odds are you're not going to continue to eat it, right? And it needs to be easy to eat. So number 4 there, it has to be melt down easy. So the food almost dissolves in your mouth, and it makes it easy to chew. So actually one of the major restaurants, chain restaurants actually inject chicken sauce in flavor to tenderize their chewing to make it less, right? Make it less easier for you to eat. So how do we stop this, right? So here are the 7 ways to stop overeating junk food. So now that you kind of understand how deliciousness gets manufactured, you can use these 7 strategies to build your awareness of your behavior and control your treat consumption. So number 1 is notice your chewing. So it's a lot easier to overeat when food is easier to chew. I just kind of went over that with you. So a fun experiment that you could do is you compare how many chews it takes to eat a processed food versus a whole food. So you can take very similar things. If you take a natural organic-esque type of veggie versus one that's processed in like a can that has salt and all that stuff. could take you, a lot longer to eat that raw vegetable compared to one that's in a can, right? So some things that you need to consider is how long it takes you to eat each food, how you feel after eating it, and how much you want to continue eating, right? Another way that you can combat this junk food is evaluate your pantry. I know I talked about this with some people in the first couple weeks. Like, if it's in your house, you're going to eat it, right? So you need to change the way you grocery shop and eat, but first be aware of what kind of food you buy and why you buy them. So how many junk foods are marketed as healthy foods can you find right now in your pantry? How many celebrity endorsements do you see? What kind of self-care promises do you find? List the number of treat foods you have in your kitchen, right? Which goes into number 3 here, is you want to look for these habit patterns. So habits are very powerful, for better or worse. You can either use them for you or to use them against you. So when you have a habit of using food for reasons other than physical hunger, it can lead to overeating. So here's a nice little diagram to follow, right? So you have a trigger, you reward yourself with the behavior of something that, reminds you of eating, a snack like pretzels, and then you reward yourself and you keep going into that vicious cycle. So the first thing you need to focus on is first identifying your triggers. So what can you be triggered by? A feeling, a time of day, a social setting, a place, a thought pattern. It's been a rough day, so I deserve this, right? So when you have the urge to overeat, you need to ask yourself these couple things. So what am I feeling? What time of day is it? Who am I with? Where am I? And what thoughts am I having? So this self-knowledge will help you prevent trigger eating in the future, right? Number 4, we want to find feel-good habits that support you. Once you know your triggers, you can disrupt this cycle of the trigger, eat, and then reward, replacing the eating with activity that supports your goals. So some of the most effective stress relievers that aren't used to, ingest more calories is exercising, playing sports, reading, listening to music, praying or attending a religious service, spending time with your friends and family, getting a massage, walking outside, meditation, yoga, or other creative hobbies. So these hobbies are to help boost your neurotransmitters like serotonin, GABA, or oxytocin, which calm down the stress response induced in the feeling of well-being, right? So another thing that you can do is number 5 here is you can put quality over quantity. So processed foods are usually cheap ingredients, making it possible to sell a large amount at a very low price, right? We talked about this, the burger and the salad analogy, right? So whole foods, they provide high quality nutrition, and you only pay once, but if you keep eating those jumbo-sized things that seem like a deal, you're going to eventually pay within what's called a health tax in the form of fat gain, metabolic problems, or other poor health, right? So what you want to do is you want to use kind of a light system, like a traffic light. So you have, your green, your red, your yellow, all that stuff. You want to make your own list of this kind of approved food streams, right? So here are some examples. So you have your red foods, which are, no-goes, things that you probably shouldn't have around, right? If you tend to overeat, it'll help you make you feel sick, and obviously if they don't help meet your goals, right? So a lot of stuff that are super processed, you probably shouldn't have around anyway. So we're talking about candy, cookies, ice cream, fast food, things like that. Now you have your yellow foods. These aren't the worst choices, but if you eat too much of them, you might regret it later. So if you have a bunch of cheese all the time, they're not only going to have digestive problems, but you can have a large amount of calories all at once, right? And obviously, it looks like we have some pasta there and crackers. So, again, more processed type of things. And then we get to our green foods, which are more nutritious and make your body feel good. So obviously, eat a little bit more of these. So now the list you make is very unique to you. So chocolate chip cookies might be red for you, but they might be green for your friend, right? So what I mean by that is if someone's trying to gain weight, obviously they can get away with eating certain foods because they want to increase their calories. But, at the same time, you don't want to just pump your body full of processed type of things. Picture you have a car and it's a Ferrari, right? You don't put crap in your Ferrari. You put the top of the line fuel, right? And that's exactly how your body operates. You want to make sure you have the right stuff in there. So a great way to make sure that you are not eating as much is slow down your eating. So if you change the food you eat, freaks you out, allow yourself to eat whatever you want, but slowly and mindfully. So what I mean by this is make it a habit to sit at a table and use real dishes, eat in a calm environment with no distractions. So if you're someone that eats in front of the TV, that is a distraction, right? You're gonna be mindlessly doing something, watching something. You're gonna want to continue to eat more. Another thing that you can do is put your utensils down between each bite. We're trying to do that with our son right now, and he's starting to get it, but he still sometimes grabs with his hands, right? So set aside time, at least 20 minutes per meal. Sometimes it's not, probable if you are traveling for work. Sometimes you eat on the go. So that's where you're choosing more whole foods, fiber-rich stuff that they can take time to chew. And then the last one here, which is going to be a whole nother training, is eat to the 80% full rule. So if you just continuously eat over and over and over again, you're going to get past that point of where you are full. So hitting that 80% is going to take some time for you to figure out what that is for you. And then once you understand that, you're going to see that you're naturally going to eat less and less each time, right? So then number 7 here, the last one here, is be nice to yourself. So self-criticism and crash dieting may work in short term, but they usually sabotage your goals in the long term. So approach your overeating with these things, right? Honesty, curiosity, and kindness. So what these do is they're going to help support a non-judgmental and more likely help you move forward. So what I mean by honesty, right? How are you really behaving around food? The more accurate you are at perceiving yourself, the better you can support your self-change. Kindness. Work with yourself against instead of against yourself, right? So if you have trouble with eating in social situations, right? If you're out and about and it's like you're going to B-dubs and everyone's eating wings, everyone's eating fries, and you want to eat that stuff, right? That's where you have to figure out kind of what makes sense for you, right? If you're going to enjoy those fries, enjoy them, but don't beat yourself up, right? You just find a way to fit that in. So that's where, having that tracking system that we talked about, one of the first trainings, whether you're using an application, whether you're writing it down, eventually I'm going to show you guys the hand thumb palm model of tracking calories. That way you can get a good guesstimate of what you have instead of trying to track it all. Because sometimes, when you are out to eat, sometimes it may have the calories on there, but you don't know if it's exactly what you're getting, right? Then curiosity is explore your habits with openness and interest, not criticism, right? So if you have issues with things and you need help, try to find the answer